Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and I've been getting a lot of questions about how do you level up in Final Fantasy XIV without burning out. So this is going to be a guide really tailored to you, the new player or the returning player, and helps to give you all the different methods that you can use to be getting experience. So let's go ahead and dive in without wasting anybody's time and get you guys going and leveling as quickly as possible. For new players, your first time through, we're going to touch on this note right here. The rest of the guide will have some value, but note, I want to point you right towards the MSQ, the main story quest. You can see here with the meteor icon, this is telling me a story, and it's going to tell me if I can't do it, which it's marked in red. But anytime you see these quest icons, this is exactly what you need to focus in on. If you get lost for any reason, look for your main scenario quest guide, in which it's going to tell you where you need to look. You can click on this little tool. It's going to continue to guide you all the way through the story, and that way ensure that you don't get lost. This will take you all the way to Cap, and it's also going to be your main gate to unlocking all the features and content within the game, with a handful of side quest exceptions. Side quest exceptions can actually be found in this tool via the little subtext here, and you'll see here this I've got a quest icon with a plus. You can also look for those. The plus sign means you're going to be unlocking content as well. So when you're leveling, you can focus in on side quests, but I would highly recommend sticking to the MSQ and then picking up any side quests that have a plus sign on them to unlock content and features that the game offers. So let's go ahead and start with your buffs. First, I'm going to talk about food buffs. If I go here to talk to Sassamaro, just here in Gridania, all the vendors in the cities should have a food vendor that kind of gets you started before you have to really fully engage with the markets themselves. The reason why I want to point this out is you can come in here for 5 gil, pick up a boiled egg, or you can go with raisins, or you can look at any of the food here. What interests you the most? Maybe it's stat related or something like that. But note, all of this food has a 3% increase in XP bonus. That's going to add up, especially when you consider just the everyday playing this game. And this is a really easy, cheap way. So just grabbing a stack of 99 is very easy and affordable to do. What you can do with that food, and when I go to use it in this case, I got my 99 boiled eggs, I can go ahead and use it, and it's going to apply a 30-minute buff. But the nice thing about food is you can actually use it twice as long as it's the same food. And now I have an hour buff of 3% experience that is just going to continue to add up and help me level. Beyond the food buff, though, you actually have gear that can help increase your overall experience gain. While on the screen I'm showing you the Aetheryte Earring, which was a pre-order bonus item that you can equip to give you additional experience up to a certain level, you can always come and talk to any of the novice training of NPCs here, and by completing the novice, you can end up grabbing yourself a ring that will give you bonus experience up to level 30. It's a great way to help get all your classes staged up into the job level and then continue on with the leveling. The other system you actually have in play is if I jump into my character classes here and over into my Disciples of War and Magic, when you have a character that's a higher level, it doesn't matter the level, but as long as it goes, whatever your highest level job is, every job other than that is going to get the armory bonus, which is going to help increase its ability to get to you faster. So after you finished your main job, note that all of your other jobs are going to get boosted experience just because you have a job at a higher level. And then also you have rested experience. You can see here that I'm in the city and it's filling up my rested XP bar. So make sure you log out near an Aetheryte or in any of the cities, so that way you're going to accumulate rested experience bonuses that's going to feed yourself that way. And finally, in terms of bonus experience, you also have free company bonus experience that you have available to you if you're in a free company. So in my free company, we have the ability to go into our actions and have additional experience bonuses. Now, right now, we're only rocking experience bonuses ×2, but there's a way that free companies can actually craft a third level of experience bonus ×3, which gives you 15% additional experience, which all of this adds up. So I'm getting experience from the free company, I'm getting experience from the food, I'm getting experience from the armory, I'm getting experience from the gear, and all of that just feeds you so much more experience than you're not normally getting without those different buffs. Okay, so now let's go ahead and dive into the content that Final Fantasy XIV offers. First and foremost, before we talk about our roulettes and more, I want to kind of talk about the challenge log. This is going to be related to everything we're doing in terms of leveling. This unlocks at level 15, out in Limbs of Lamenza. It's a little quest with a little plus sign on it that we talked about at the very beginning of this video. But note that by just doing this on the weekly, you're going to get additional experience and gil. And there's a lot of different categories here, but you can see running several fates in different areas, doing different battles, different duty roulettes, doing different dungeons, different guild hests. All that's going to just add up to additional experience that the game is going to funnel to your character and to your job or class at any point in time, really. Now, there's a couple of other systems in place like Wanderous Tales that we'll talk about here, and also the Hunt Log. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let's go ahead and focus first on our roulettes, our dungeons, and a couple things that you want to pay attention to. In your duty finder, you can go into the different systems. On this front page, this is going to be something that fills out as you level up in the game. So when you're like running level 1 to level 15, note that this isn't going to be available to you. At level 16, your leveling roulette opens up. Now, the first dungeon in the game actually opens up at level 15, and there's a really good benefit, a lot of experience to running your highest level dungeon available. But focusing in on the roulettes for a second. If you have the ability to level up the role that is being requested, you can see here, Adventure Healer in Need. You're going to get additional gil experience and seals that are related to your grand company and other benefits for running a roulette that's in need. And now you can see it's easily switched to tank. You're going to see a lot of tanks and healers. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to level those up, but I don't want to pressure you into a specific role. Note there is, though, an advantage to running the role of Adventure in Need. As you do your leveling, you're going to have a lot of options. Now, your Guild Hest Roulette is going to open up a lot sooner, around level 10, so note that you'll have some availability here. Now, your main scenario and Trials Roulettes will open up at level 50. Your 50, 60, and 70 dungeons will also open up at level 50. 80 and Expert Roulette are your end game kind of currency dungeons, and even though when you're at cap, you will get some currencies for running these different roulettes as well. Alliance Raids open up at level 50, and your normal raids actually open up at level 60. So by that point, you're going to have a lot of different options. But here's the thing, just because you're doing this over and over again, it can easily lead to burnout. So I'd recommend prioritizing leveling, maybe doing alliance raids if you have that kind of time and you want to do it. They can be pretty quick, so it is a good source of experience. And then essentially when it comes down to main scenario, massive source of experience here, but you can end up doing a lot of the storied content that you can't skip. So personally, for me speaking, I avoid the main scenario because I tend to like to have a wider range of variety. But if you find yourself with a lot of time and you don't mind running it, it can definitely be worth your time. That's going to be my only kind of caveat there. Let's talk about highest level dungeons. As you level, running the highest level of dungeon available to you can be a really good source of experience. That can also lead to a little bit of burnout. So just see how you're feeling. Overall, the game's going to funnel you with your daily bonuses and things like that. So your highest level dungeon should be changing fairly regularly, but don't feel like you need to go backwards and run a previous dungeon unless you're trying to get something specific, a specific drop from that dungeon for maybe a glamour item or something like that. But I would say your roulettes are going to give you a bonus daily that's going to give a lot of experience. And then essentially, if you just want to run dungeons, always run your highest level dungeon from a leveling perspective. It's going to give you the most rewards possible. Now, from here, every 5 levels, especially when you're on a class, you're going to get a class quest. Be sure to go and grab that as much as possible. And then also you're going to have essentially the system as you're starting out, the hunting log. And you can see here that as you level up the hunting log, and I really haven't on any of my characters, but I really haven't bothered much with it in terms of leveling experience. But you get this and you want to be paying attention to it because there's other things related to it, especially as it relates to your grand company, as there are some items listed there as well. But if you see here, you'll tell you what to go hunt and complete, and it's going to feed you additional experience. The enemies actually have a little green icon over their head, and as you finish this off, you'll continue to rank up and feed yourself additional experience. So this is really good open world content, and we'll talk about open world versus instance content here in just a minute, because if you are a DPS, and back into our roulette queue here just for a second, duty finder, I lost you for a second. Note that sometimes queue times can end up being quite long. Looks like we actually have some DPS in need, so if you're a DPS, go take advantage of that. But note that sometimes your queue time can be a little bit longer, so you want to pair that with like open world content that you can fill so that you're constantly getting experience and you don't find yourself just kind of waiting around with nothing to do if you've already completed your MSQ. All right, so outside the hunt log, which is a unique piece of content from basically the ARR game. We also have the concept of the hunt board. If you go into ARR, and this is going to be a little bit different for Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringer, so I'm going to highlight all of those here for you right now. We're focused here in my grand company in Adder, but in each grand company in the game, you're going to find a hunt board in which you're going to get regular mark bills and elite mark bills. If I pick on the regular mark bills, it's going to give me a series of tasks to go and kill, which is going to reward me with allied seals and gil as well as experience. You can always see where these items or these enemies are being hunted at. It's going to give you a general idea. You can always put down a flag. In this case on controller, I use both left bumper and right bumper to list a flag so I can kind of give myself an idea of where to hunt. I can accept the bill and I can go look for the target enemies that I need. You can go talk to the hunt bill master and you can actually find different seals to give yourself different gear or other items that are pretty interesting to you overall. So if I click on allied seals here, I can get ventures, I can get aetheryte tickets if you want to make it cheap to easily teleport around. So there's still value in actually farming up allied seals. There's other ways to do it in the game as well. But note that you get the hunt board. It's going to give you different targets to go and find. And especially if you're waiting a queue, these are going to be enemies that are going to reward you with experience for getting that as well. So it's a good piece of open world content to pair with any kind of wait time in a queue. Where the hunt board seems to evolve is in starting in Heavensward, you'll see the clan hunt board posted on the wall, and you'll see mark 1, 2, and 3 bills for the daily, and then an elite one for the weekly. So this is going to have an increasing level range. So as you level up, you're going to open up more of these hunts up to level 3. Stormblood and Shadowbringers have the same thing, except for in Shadowbringers, they call it like Clansy Nuts on the first. So just note that you want to be doing this, especially as you're just waiting in queue. It's a perfect piece of content to do while you're waiting in queue, and that currency adds up and you can do various other cool things with that currency in the game. So I wanted to kind of point out that difference, especially as it relates to hunts, so you can take advantage of. So before we get into additional content, I also want to highlight Wondrous Tales, as I said before. Now, Chloe here is going to give you a journal in which that you can turn in for both bonus rewards, different stamps, but ultimately you're going to get experience from it. I've got this hotkeyed bound, so it's going to tell you to run different things. Most of these things you might already be doing, and as you play, you're going to get second chance points for doing stuff with new players, which you can actually use to reset any kind of book every week. You can reset, like if you run your leveling dungeon from 1 to 49 and you want to do that over and over again, you can second chance point that to give you more experience or give you more stamps, so to speak. So once you get your stamps, essentially you're going to get a bunch of different things. If you get lines on the book, you actually get additional rewards. That's going to vary to your level and your player, but it's going to also give you a bunch of experience on whatever you turn this in on. So if you end up completing a book and you're ready to turn in and you're also leveling up another job, you can turn that book in on the other job and give yourself that additional experience. So don't forget about your Wondrous Tales. That's going to be a great piece of experience that you can do to continue feed yourself additional experience while you're leveling. Now, in the current game of Final Fantasy XIV, we have two types of what's called deep dungeon content. This can also be used for leveling or endgame currency grinding. It has a lot of value, and it has no role restrictions, and it has its own semi or kind of additional progress method. The first one is going to open up here. It's called Palace of the Dead. This is going to allow you to queue in solo or with a group of friends or with match made, and you can go play. Now, you're going to get your experience in chunks. You have to clear every 10 floors, and that's when the game's going to reward you with experience for your time invested in the content itself. Then, after level 60, you're going to open up Heaven on High. Just like Deep Dungeon, Heaven on High is going to take you from 60 to 70. Now, in the game at its current time, in Shadowbringers, there isn't a piece of content like Deep Dungeon for 71 up. However, that content is called Bozja, the Bozja Southern Front. That's going to unlock after you've completed the main story, so doing any kind of alternate job leveling from 71 up, you can actually do that as well as grinding out different metal ranks in that system itself. And that's a whole different piece of topic for another day. I think we actually have a guide here on this channel for it, or we cover it and can give you more tips regarding Bozja at additional time later. So let me know if you're interested in that. Now we have another piece of open world content, and that is your Beastman dailies. This is going to start around the level 40 range in ARR, but in Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers, you're going to see that 10 level range for different beastmen that you can do every day. This is great open world content to pair with any DPS queue that you're doing. Now note that I am high level, so if I pick on this quest, the experience isn't going to scale here in the ARR zone, but when you start focusing in on your level range, level 50 to 60 focusing on Heavensward Beast Tribes, 60 to 70 focusing on Stormblood Beast Tribes, and 70 to 80 focusing on Shadowbringers Beast Tribes, that's where you're going to get your maximum amount of experience. And this is such good experience. I would highly recommend. This really encourages you to log in every day and do those prior to even doing your roulettes, because that's going to give you a huge chunk of experience, especially while you're in queue if you're a DPS in this game. So note that this is a really good way of earning additional currency, unlocking different items that you can sell in the markets, and more. So take full advantage of that. If you're looking for individual Beast Tribe quests themselves, be sure to check out like gamerscape.com. They've got a great wiki that kind of leads you to each of the different Beast Tribes in the different areas of the game. Now, the final piece of content I want to point you to is as you rank up in your Grand Company, you're going to unlock the Squadron system. The Squadron system allows you to level up different NPCs and send them out on missions, but if you go talk to the Squadron Sergeant in this case, if you're a Flames or if you're a Maelstrom, it's going to be slightly different. Note you can go in to do command missions. This is where you're going to run with an AI team of NPCs, and you can go run dungeons with those NPCs and level up as well. So this is a really good opportunity for you to play around with your NPCs and level them up. So if you want to swap them out, in this case you want to obviously have your tank, healer, and DPS role, you can easily swap in and out different NPCs, go into the content, level them up, level yourself up, and hopefully have a good time with that experience as well. In Final Fantasy XIV, we have a couple of different systems. In 70 to 80 or 71 to 80, you unlock the trust system. So this is going to be a good piece of content for leveling up, and then you're going to transition to other systems later on in the game. Now this brings me to a good discussion regarding open world and instance content. So while you're in queue for instance content, you can definitely do open world content, and I would highly encourage you to do so, but here's a couple caveats, a little bit of warnings around that. Side quests, Beastman Tribes, hunting log, that's going to be progress that's going to easily be returned to. Fates are a really good thing that you can do, especially as you're leveling out in the open world, but if you happen to be in queue and you cannot complete the fate, you're not going to get the rewards for completing the fate itself. So it can end up being a little bit defeating in that regard. So don't just prioritize fates 100%. Be looking at any side quests that you can pick up and run. Be looking at any Beast Tribe quests that you can pick up and run. Make sure you got those hunts that you're working on, because even if you're only 50% through the hunt, you get pulled into the dungeon, you come back, you can continue that progress out in the open world. Now, your instance content is going to be roulettes, dungeons, trials, raids, your squadrons, Palace of the Dead, Bosha. All that's going to take you out of the open world content itself. So just try to look at pairing those two together, especially if you have a long queue time. If you don't have a long queue time, you're a tank or healer, note that you will be doing side quests, fates, and dungeons and Beastman Tribes whenever there is some kind of downtime, or you really don't feel like running an instance piece of content. You just kind of want to explore the world itself. So in summary, if you guys have any questions, obviously let me know, but do your class quest, your duty roulette, your challenge log, Wanderer's Tales when they're available. From level 1 to level 15, focus on hunting logs, your fates, guild hests, anything that can feed you a daily bonus of experience overall. Your guild hests can end up being very valuable, especially on your alts, because you do get additional experience for running the guild hest on that class and that job. So that's going to be additional experience flowing your way. Level 50 to 60, focus on Palace of the Dead, your highest available dungeon, different squadron missions, like we said, your hunting logs and fates, obviously when you're focusing in on some kind of queue or waiting around, just looking for something to do in the open world. 61 to 70, focus on Heaven on High, and then your highest available dungeon is going to feed you lots of experience. But again, maximize those bonuses, your gear, your free company, rested experience, your food buffs, and more. And then 71 to 80, dungeons, Bojan Southern Front, any kind of fate out in the first will help feed you additional experience. And as always, let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help clarify in this guide. Brian for Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you feel like I've earned it. Come back and check out the other content on the channel. We'd love to see you back here. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.